Bravo to Bob Chesney, who is bringing back Nico Iamaleava to UCLA just 1 year later after he makes the switch from Tennessee to UCLA. And people were not super fond of Nico when he made that switch. I myself was not super hyped up about the addition. But after watching Nico Iamaleava play this season, after seeing him put his body on the line and not just be somebody that's going out there just to make plays, but somebody that looked like a leader, somebody that looked like he was willing his team to try and win some of these games, it really showed to me the character of who Nico Iamaleava is. Now, is he the savior, the perfect guy? No, he's not. But it would have been really, really easy for a guy like Nico to come in and just mail it in after the first 3 games of the season. But he didn't do that. He continued to go out there, play really hard for his teammates, play really hard for his name, for his family, for his teammates, his coaches. He went out there and continued to put his body on the line, played a fantastic game against Penn State, and really was, the main rushing option for UCLA for large parts of this season. For Bob Chesney to come in to do a great job with the family, to do a great job with Nico Iamaleava, and to do a great job with Madden too. The reporting out of this coming from 24/7 and some of the guys from On3, I think Greg Biggins was the one on On3 talking about that he's making Madden Iamaleava a priority. This is what really, really good head coaches do, because really, really good head coaches see a kid and say he has the traits, I can turn him into something, right? And they're not unrealistic about it to say, well, I have to turn this guy into something. Bob Chesney came in here and said, look, this is a guy clearly who has talent. This is a guy clearly who cares about his team, his family, his name, his coaches. I'm going to turn him into something. And I think that Bob Chesney has the right idea here coming in and bringing Nico Iamaleava back. Let me know what you think down below about this. If you like that Nico Iamaleava is coming back to UCLA, let me know by liking this video. Would love to get you guys' thoughts in the comment section below, as this is the Big Ten Huddle with John Rhodes. Appreciate you all being here, and liking, subscribing, commenting always helps out with the video. So if you could please do that, even if it's just, hey, good job, JR, or hey, you're ugly, JR. Okay, don't say that. But, just even the smallest little comment down below definitely helps. I know one of you guys is going to comment, hey, you're ugly, JR. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. So, anyway, continue on about this. I think that Bob Chesney is really setting himself up well at UCLA. I was very excited about this hire. Unfortunately, we never got a chance to go through the press conference and kind of evaluate that kind of stuff. But Bob Chesney, I think, was a really good hire for UCLA. There's a few concerns here and there, and we referenced those when the hire was made about him not really being out from California and stuff like that, and UCLA not exactly having all-star guys on their staff like Penn State has Terry Smith, and how Michigan has a guy like Biff Poggi and guys like that. But you do have a solid recruiting ground, a solid place to go out there, and a solid way to be able to get players. And UCLA had some good NIL set up in this past season. They were able to go out and get some 4-star guys that maybe UCLA wasn't supposed to get, or people didn't think UCLA would get. And so really with that kind of NIL, the main thing now is number one, retention, bringing back the players that you want to bring back, because Bob Chesney just got there. He's really now actually there because he's not coaching James Madison in the bowl game, or not the bowl game, in the college football playoff game, now that they're out and losing to Oregon in this one. And honestly had a good showing in Oregon too. The first half, not very good, but the way that team continued to fight and come back, you could tell they were playing for something. They were playing for pride. They were playing for trying to stay in that game. And that's a really good sign that Bob Chesney didn't just go into the locker room and say, I'm going to mail it in, get ready for UCLA. He and his coaching staff continued to coach well. They continued to push their players, and their players responded. And that shows just how good of a coach Bob Chesney is and how much he has his guys believing in him. And right now, Bob Chesney needs to go out and find the players on this UCLA team that, number one, are going to believe in him, and number two, he can believe in. Some of those guys that he needs to go after, I mean, obviously there's a lot of them, but kind of the 3 guys that I would say are kind of his main 3 that he needs to bring back: Scooter Jackson and Andre Jordan, the 2 cornerbacks there. Even if, well, we're going to talk about some corners later on for James Madison that he could possibly bring in. Even with those guys, you still want to have really good cornerback talent, guys that are going to push each other. And so bringing back Scooter Jackson and Andre Jordan would be huge. Rico Flores is another guy you want to try to retain on this team. They're a wide receiver. You need to keep some weapons for Nico Iamaleava. And maybe they're not the most talented weapons in the world. I'm not saying Rico isn't talented, but guys that Nico is just familiar with, right? That he knows throwing the ball to. In UCLA, they're going to have to hit the portal hard. And it'll be up to Chesney to have the right evaluations, not just of the players he's trying to retain off the roster, but also of guys out there. That's one of the secret sauce things that Kirk Cignetti has done to be able to be as good as he is at Indiana, is to evaluate players at an exceptional level. Maybe not every player has the NFL traits of the height and the speed, but he's able to go through and find guys with really good character who love football and who are going to be easy to coach. One of the best characteristics you can have is to be coachable. And that's one thing that Kirk Cignetti is able to go out and do. It's not something you can always see on film. It's not something you can always see when you first talk to a guy, but Kirk Cignetti has a lot of connections. He's able to reach out to a lot of different guys, figure out about guys, and he has a very good judgment of who will be good players for him and who will not be good players. I think we'll expect some really good additions from Bob Chesney. I don't think all of them will be like high-level additions. I think some of them will be some, 3-star, maybe some 2-star transfer portal additions. People are like, oh, okay, well, let's see what happens here. But if he does it the right way, he should have some really good evaluations of these guys. I think you can probably expect about 10 to 15 players to make the transition from James Madison on over to UCLA. Some of those main guys that we can talk about first, and we'll bring them up here to kind of highlight them on the side because I think it's more interesting to do it that way. Let's talk about, I'll just bring up their PFF profile here. Let me pause. All right, first and foremost, I think this is the guy that Bob Chesney has to bring in before anybody else, and that is Wayne Knight there from James Madison. Now, he's only 5'7", 190 pounds. He's not, he probably doesn't have the size that many people would want for a Big Ten running back, but he was the bell cow. He was the performance guy of this James Madison rushing attack, and he actually, he against Oregon, he ran for 110. Oh, this is what year is this? Yeah, this is 2025 here. Against Oregon, he ran for 110 yards. He had 212 yards in the conference championship game against Troy. Over 1,300 yards on the season, 9 touchdowns. Wayman Jordan was another guy who had a really high yards per carry. Wayne Knight here with a 6.6 yards per carry. To me, with UCLA and how much they struggled with the run game last year and how much they put on Nico Iamaleava to run the ball for him, you have to bring in a guy like this. And they're going to have to bring in other running backs too, right? Wayne Knight, you can't trust for him to be healthy the entire season at just 5'7", 190 pounds. I'm not wishing injury on him at all by any means. That's not what I'm saying, but he is somebody that you're going to have to see that. So he has played 4 years in college. However, one of those was a redshirt year. I forget which one it was. I believe it was his first year where he played less than 4 games. So he should be able to come back with a red shirt and play for a 5th season. And if he can do that, that is going to be really, really helpful for Bob Chesney. Now, if we also look, we can look at the wide receiver, Landon Ellis of James Madison this season, who was the main passing option or receiving option. We're going to go receiving here instead of rushing. He only had 624 yards on the season. It's not like he was an 1,000-yard receiver or anything like that, but 17.3 average yards per catch. He had 36 receptions on the year, 83 yards against Oregon. This was not the most pass-happy offense, in the world or anything, but James Madison, obviously, Landon Ellis was somebody that was a preferred target for this team. He was somebody that was relied upon heavily. He was somebody that could make a big play for you. Only one game with 100 or more receiving yards, but I do think, Bob Chesney getting to UCLA with Nico Iamaleava, that should be able to step up more. 6'2", 213 pounds, good body, good frame for moving up to a Big Ten football, and I think that Landon Ellis is a guy that will probably find himself being courted by some other teams out there, but if UCLA can utilize their NIL correctly, they should be able to bring in Landon Ellis. It might even get a discount for him because they had Bob Knight there. All right, 2 of the cornerbacks that I was talking about, DJ Barksdale is the first one, and I got to tell you guys, I'm not saying anybody's ever going to be this guy because he's fantastic, but DJ Barksdale, if you're looking for a D'Angelo Pons type, this is your type of guy here. Now, he was hot and cold this season, as you can see from the PFF grades here. But when he played really well, he did really, really well for this team. And he is only 5'9", 181 pounds, undersized, but he's a very fierce competitor. He's a guy that's able to get his hand on the ball and break things up, does a fantastic job. I really like DJ Barksdale, and I think that he's a guy that could contribute if he makes his way on over to James Madison. He's played 3 seasons, as you can see down here, so he has a 4th season still available. We'll see how it goes for him, but I think he's definitely something that you have to bring in. And then Eaglin, I think is how you pronounce it, his the other cornerback there, Justin Eaglin. He's another guy, much longer, 6'1", 175 pounds, but he has much more length, obviously taller than DJ Barksdale, but I think he's another intriguing option that you would want to bring in for this team. Even if you get guys like Andre Jordan, Scooter Jackson back, it just continues to help develop your secondary. And as we see in the Big Ten, your secondary is becoming more and more important with more and more quarterback talent entering into the conference and being so important. So, create a deep cornerback room for you and really help yourself out there. All right, another one that I definitely think needs to be looked at. Actually, we'll go through three more here, and then we'll end the video there. Defensive end, he was a freshman this season, going to be a sophomore next season. Sahir West, he had a good season this year, very disruptive, really good sure tackler. His pass rushing really came on toward the end of the season. Didn't have the best game against Oregon, but that's to be expected. That's one of the best offensive lines in the nation. He's just a true freshman at a group of 6 school, but he's the type of guy you bring in, continue to develop him, continue to get him in the weight room and put him in a really good program, and you're going to see Sahir West be a problem for not just teams in college football, but Big Ten teams in college football. I think he could continue to develop and be a special player for Bob Chesney. 6'4", 270 pounds, very strong guy. Could really push back. The G6 offensive line just has to continue to get stronger to be able to push back some of these Big Ten ones. Against Troy, he had 9 total pressures on the quarterback. If you look at the sacks, he had 5 sacks in that game. Now, PFF does not do like half sack kind of stuff. So if we were able to I should say if we're able to. I'm just not doing it. But still, 5 times he was able to get to the quarterback, at least assist with sacking the quarterback. That's huge. And then two more guys, Robble, offensive lineman for James Madison. Interior offensive lineman guard there for James Madison. Did a good job this season in run blocking. You look at the pass blocking, he also did a good job there. I don't think the PFF grades are always indicative of these kind of things. I do think that Robble was one of their better offensive linemen this season, at least from what I saw. I admit, I did not watch every single James Madison game, but from the 3 or 4 that I did watch, I watched the Troy game, I watched the Oregon game, I watched the Washington State game because that was another game I felt like they had more talent. And I watched that Louisville game. He was indeed not great in that Louisville game, but he is the type of guy that can continue to grow and get better. Only a sophomore this season. He'll continue to get better and grow. And then finally, last one, let's look at Trent Wilson, another offensive lineman, the other guard for them. Really good pass blocker at times and really bad pass blocker at times too. Really struggled in that game against Oregon. Allowed 1 pressure, but was kind of losing consistently. And the quarterback for James Madison was just doing a good job of getting the ball out. So really good times, really bad times as well. Just got to work on getting Trent Wilson to be more consistent. He was a freshman this season, okay? Freshman going up against Oregon with all their experience and everything they have on the defensive line there. It's honestly a pretty impressive performance for him to even go up against Oregon, okay? I'm not going to quote it too much, okay? It is a 0 PFF grade in pass blocking, okay? But still, for him to be able to go up against Oregon, I would say hold his own, but he didn't even hold his own all that much. But yeah, so Trent Wilson, another guy they can go out there and get. Looking forward to see what Bob Chesney can do at UCLA. I think bringing Nico Iamaleava back is going to be huge, not just for bringing him back, but also for him to go out into the portal, recruit some of these guys, and help out. It's going to be huge. Thank you so much for listening and watching to the Big Ten Huddle with John Rhodes. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.